Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 19th of September and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So friends, in the today's video, we'll be discussing the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll see the articles with the background as well as the way forward in the articles will be seen. Moreover, you can download this explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. In this PDF, you will be finding all the notes of the articles that I'm going to discuss. Fine, so please download this explainer PDF and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, you can go in the Telegram and search Thinking Palette by Sahil. There also you'll get this particular PDF. Now guys, before starting up, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper and let's understand in the overview which articles are important and which articles are not important. So here we have the Hindu page, the page number 1. The first article talks about is that NSE and IM to resume the peace talks with the center. Now guys, this particular topic, it basically talks about the Naga insurgency and the Naga conflict that is going on. So with respect to the internal security, we'll see this particular article. 2 more PCC seeks Rahul's return. So guys, this is the Bharat Jodo Yatra of Congress and the developments in that particular thing is being talked about. Nothing is relevant in this particular article, political issue. After that guys, the lumpy skin disease virus different from 2019. Okay, so basically the cattle are being infested with the lumpy skin disease and many of the cattle mortality has happened in this particular direction. However, everyday development, okay, it's not important, just the conceptual part is important. Then the net direct tax kitty crosses 7 lakh crore rupees. Okay, so basically the direct taxes are increasing. It is a symbol of the economic revival that's happening. Okay, but one thing again I'm telling you that guys, see, basically net direct tax collection in every year has been mentioned. So how much crore it got increased from the previous year or that particular thing is not important. Just you need to see this particular thing that basically direct tax collection has increased and there is a growth of 23.3%. just that's it, not more than that. Fine, because you will not be able to remember the change in the absolute numbers, nor it is needed. Then guys, moving on, the city section, the regional political news etc has been mentioned. Advertisements, fine, not important for the examination. Okay, so guys, directly we'll be reaching to the, after that the tenders and all these things have been given. Fine, so in the regional section, the political news, the crime related news, all these things are actually not very much important. So we'll be reaching directly to the editorial page, and on the editorial page the first article talks about the geopolitics and geoeconomics relation. A very good article. We'll see this particular article with respect to the exam. Then the gender pay gap, hard truths. So the gender pay gap that has increased in the India, and not only in India, in the entire world, those particular dimensions we'll see in this particular article. After that guys, era of war is over. Okay, so what this particular article is talking about, so recently we have seen, okay, on the last Saturday we have discussed the SCO meet that has been culminated. By the way guys, if you have not seen that video, please go and see the video of a Saturday where the entire history of SCO and basically the Friday video where we have discussed all these particular things. Okay, then moving on, after that particular thing, crisis in Caucasus. So this is talking about the Armenia and Azerbaijan conflict that is going on. Then the disruptive nexus of China and Pakistan. Good article with respect to the India's neighborhood. We'll see this article. What numbers don't tell us. This particular article talks about the mental health crisis for the prisoners that's going on. We'll see this particular article. Text and the context, the ban on the broken rice. We'll see this article. And with respect to the state of Indian economy, food security of India, all these dimensions we'll see here. Then the exclusion of the scheduled tribe list. So with respect to polity, this article also will see. Losing a nation in 7 acts, we'll see this particular article also. Then after that, moving on guys, after that basically the political articles etc that has been going on, not very much important. Okay, insurgency down in northeast, army shifts to LAC. Okay, so the northeast issue already we are going to take and we'll see that. Then after that, moving on, Rahul the acknowledged leader of Congress. Fine, the political articles not important much. Time for increased actions against the COVID. Okay, so WHO chief scientist has stressed this particular thing that we need to still focus on vaccination. We need not to stop on that particular thing. After that, the article is not important for the examination. Then guys, moving on. The Kinno or orchards shrink, price of fruit set to rise. Okay, so basically guys, here we find this particular thing that the Kinno, which is a citrus fruit, okay, it's basically the productivity of the plantations are going down because of the polluted water. Okay, however guys, understand this particular thing that for UPSC exam, the article doesn't contain much of academic substance. Punjab farmers demand aid to stop the stubble burning. So guys, now as the month of October and November will proceed, this is the time when the stubble burning in the Punjab and Haryana will start, and that stubble burning issue creates a lot of winter pollution problem into the entire North India. And even the NGT, National Green Tribunal, and Supreme Court had said that North India becomes the gas chamber. So every year government tries to stop. So Punjab farmers are asking that they should be paid, they should be given some monetary or economic help if they want to stop the stubble burning. So some alternative disposal methods, okay, should be given to the farmers. Moving on after that, guys. So today is Monday. We have this MoneyWise page. Business page doesn't comes on Monday, and this MoneyWise page contains the advices about the house loan, investing, share market, and all these kind of things. So for UPSC, much relevant substance doesn't comes on this particular page. After that, guys, moving on. Okay, so death tolls, the clashes along the Tajikistan Kyrgyzstan border. Find down these conflicts, regional conflicts that are going in some countries. People died, that kind of things is not too much important for our examination, because questions on such kind of lines don't come. Then people killed in China, not important. Powerful earthquake strikes Taiwan. So we have seen that there are very deadly earthquake in the Taiwan has come. And then we have the sports page. Okay, so guys, this is all about the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all these relevant articles one by one in the detail. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, before starting, in every class I give you a GS quotation, and these GS quotes you can use in one of your papers. Okay, so today we'll be taking the quotation from the Lord John Boyd. Now Lord John Boyd says that peace can't be built upon empty stomachs. Peace can't be built on empty stomachs. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that actually what happened 2 years back, 2020, the World Food Program was given the Nobel Peace Prize. The World Food Program was given the Nobel Peace Prize. Why? Nobel Prize in which category? Peace category. So we find this particular thing that the World Food Program, by providing the food assistance, had kept many conflicts, had kept many crises at a distance. Understand this particular thing, guys, that all the war that's there in the world, it's because of the deprivation. And when we talk about the deprivation of food, it leads to hunger, and hunger deprivation, food deprivation leads to frustration, frustration leads to war. So therefore, if the peace is to be built, we need to make sure that the food security of the people is taken care of. So the food security will bring peace. So therefore, the quotation says that the peace can't be built upon the empty stomachs. So therefore, all the countries need to invest into the food securities, and every person's belly needs to be fed. Now this idea can be used very effectively, because in GS paper number 1, issues of hunger has been mentioned. Fine. So in GS paper number 1, issues of hunger. In GS paper number 2, also in the social justice, as well as in GS paper number 3, this particular idea can be utilized. Fine. So a very good quotation. Please use it. It's small but very impactful. Now let's take the first article for the today. Okay, so guys, the first article that talks about is that NSCN IM to resume the peace talks with the center. Now, this particular article, with actually the excuse of this particular article, will today understand the entire Naga peace talks that is going on. And guys, the Naga peace talks happens to be a very important topic for the internal security. It happens to be a very important topic for the internal security that is given in the GS paper number 3. So entire Naga issue from the scratch will understand this particular thing. And guys, what's the present issue that's coming up? Fine, we'll see that particular thing also. Now understand one particular thing, that you need to know the background first, and the entire background I had given here into the notes, because if we don't know this background, we'll not be able to make sense of this particular article much. Now, before going even into the background, I want to give you some of the basic concepts. Okay, so basically, guys, we know that there is a phenomena, you might have heard about the word, that is the regionalism. Okay, you might be knowing about the regionalism. Okay, now basically all the disputes that are going into the northeast, in a way they are the manifestation of the regionalism phenomena. Now what is regionalism? Basically, guys, understand that when a particular group, or when a group of people owe their loyalty to one specific region within a country, then it leads to regionalism. So your loyalties are fixated on one region. that is regionalism. Now understand, regionalism as a concept is not entirely neutral, because it is not wrong that you have pride in being Marathi, you have pride in being Gujarati, you have pride in being Haryanvi or from any other state. It's not wrong. So regionalism by very design is not wrong, but sometimes regionalism becomes wrong. Why? Because sometimes, guys, the regional identities that are there, these regional identities are pitted against the national identity. Regional identity becomes more important than the national identity, and in that case the regionalism becomes problematic. What happens in that particular kind of a phenomena? The people living in particular region, they ask for a separate state, they ask for a separate nation. Okay, that is something where the problems start. Now understand one particular thing, that guys, even in the regionalism, when the people are asking a different state, that is also not problematic. Why? Because in our constitution, article number 3 has already contained the provisions to create a separate state. So even people can keep forward a demand for a state. Keeping a demand for a state is not problematic. Having a pride in your region is not problematic. But regional identities become more important than the national identities, then the regionalism becomes important. Now guys, understand that when we talk about the northeast, now the northeastern region has their own unique culture, they have their own unique practices, and actually they basically, we have seen that the British administration that was there during the British administrations, okay, basically the northeast was not properly mainstreamed, and therefore that cultural distinctionness went into the northeast. Now guys, when India became independence in 1947, many of the tribal groups into the northeast, they did not wanted to become the part of India. They wanted to maintain their autonomy, they wanted to maintain their sovereignty as they had maintained into the historical times. And in that particular capacity, the Naga conflict started just after the independence. Now guys, when we talk about the Naga is a big tribal group which contains many of the sub tribes in it. And when we talk about the Naga issue, actually the Naga issue or the Naga struggle for their independence has been started even during the British times also. So here guys, first of all, I will be giving you the entire history of the Naga struggle that has been there, and then we'll be coming to the present issue. So basically, when we talk about the Naga struggle, okay, a few days back also this Naga issue we have discussed. So if you have seen that, it will be a revision. Please be very attentive. Okay, so basically the Naga issue started in 1918. Okay, so in 1918 what happened? The Naga club was formed. Okay, and this particular Naga club was the first basically kind of a development where the Naga nationalism was born. Now what is Naga nationalism? Naga nationalism means that a separate country into the name of Naga limb, a separate country into the name of Naga limb is needed, which will consolidate all the parts of the northeast where the Naga population is living. Then guys, what happened? Basically in 1946, the next development happened. Naga National Council NNC was born under the leadership of AZ Fizo. Now AZ Fizo has been one of the most important Naga leader who had fought for the Naga independence in the start. So AZ Fizo formed the NNC. Then guys, in 1947 we got independence. Just before the independence, what happened? The NNC, that is the Naga National Council, they declared their independence. They said that we don't want to become the part of India, we want to become an independent nation. So therefore they declared their independence. Now guys, that particular thing was not acceptable to the leaders at that point of time. Is it clear or not? Then guys, what happened? Moreover, in 1940s, basically guys, in 1947, what happened? Agreement was signed. Fine, the sovereignty of NNC was claimed. That was also the same thing that happened. Now the next development after 1947 came in 1955. Now in 1955, now I told you that in 1947 when they declared independence, it was not acceptable to the leaders at that point of a time, and that thing was not accepted. It was asked that the Nagas have to stay in the India. Okay, we can think of giving some kind of an autonomy within India, but we will not be tolerating seeking the independence. So therefore, in the response, the NNC, that is the Naga National Council, they started the armed insurgency. Fine, they pick up the weapons, and in response, what happened in 1958, AFSPA, that is the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, was constituted, and Nagaland was brought under the AFSPA. By the AFSPA, the armed forces got extraordinary power to control the insurgency into the Nagaland, and in 1958 the AFSPA came. Now guys, even few days back there was a kind of a controversy. What happened? 13 civilians were killed by the army personals, and at that point of a time this AFSPA act was criticized, because in the AFSPA the army of basically the armed forces of personals, they can open fire, okay, on the people, they can arrest the people, they can search without the warrant. So much of powers have been given by the AFSPA, and this AFSPA came in 1958. Now the things were not going anywhere, the insurgency was there, and therefore in order to bring a solution in 1963, what happened? Nagaland was created as a separate state. Before that guys, Nagaland was a part of Assam. In 1963 Nagaland is a separate state was created, and then what happened in 1964? Nagaland Peace Mission was created. Now what is this Nagaland Peace Mission? It was an outreach program where the insurgent groups of the Nagaland were reached, and it was asked that let's find an agreement. And what happened? A ceasefire agreement was signed, that okay, for the time being we will go for the ceasefire, will not be carrying the attacks on each other. Then guys, what happened in 1975? The Shillong Accord was signed. Shillong Accord was signed. What is the Shillong Accord? Shillong Accord was unconditional ceasefire, where the major groups, they said that okay, we are dropping our arms. Now that Shillong Accord was successful if you see from the perspective of the mainland India, but if you see from the perspective of the Nagas, it was seen that it was a breach of trust, it was a sellout. So therefore the Shillong Accord was not much appreciated by the Nagas, and therefore guys, because of the anger of the Shillong Accord, what happened in 1980? The National Socialist Council of Nagalim, NSCN, was formed. Now you can see the word Nagalim. Now what is this Nagalim? Nagalim is an idea that a separate nation in the name of Nagalim is to be created, and this Nagalim will have the parts of Nagaland, it will have the parts of the nearby other states where the Naga population are living. So a kind of a big nation, not only of the Nagaland but around the other areas also will be created. Now what happened in 1988? This NSCN got divided in two parts. It got fragmented in two parts. One became the NSCN-K. NSCN-K stands for Khaplang. NSCN-K stands for Khaplang. So Khaplang was the leader, and by his name Khaplang was created. And then other one became the NSCN-IM. NSCN become IN. IM stands for Isaac Muvaiya. Okay, IM stands for Isaac Muvaiya. Okay, now Isaac Muvaiya, they were also the leaders. So basically around the leaders, the NSCN got divided in two parts: NSCN Khaplang and NSCN Muvaiya. Okay, so these two groups were formed. Now guys, as the things were going on, what happened in 1997? NSCN IM, that is Isaac Muvaiya, they signed the ceasefire agreement again with the government. Okay, and the government promised to give them the autonomy. What happened in 2001? The NSCN Khaplang, they also signed the ceasefire, and it was thought that around the 2001-2002 the Naga issue will finally be resolved. But what happened? Again there was much development did not happen, and finally the in March 2015 NSCN-K Khaplang breaks the ceasefire. Okay, they thought that much of the things that are being given to them, they are not fulfilling the issue of the Naga autonomy. So NSCN-K breaks this particular ceasefire, and then guys, with the in August 2015, this was the final step that happened. In 2015, Naga Peace Accord was signed. Naga Peace Accord was signed. Now what is this Naga Peace Accord? This Naga Peace Accord has been signed, and here number one, NSCN-IN is there. NSCN-IM, that is the Isaac Muvaiya, they, as well as the government of India. Along with that, there are the seven other political groups in the Nagaland, that is called as the Naga National Political Group. Naga National Political Group, NNPG. So what has happened? NNPG, Naga National Political Group, which consists the seven other parties: Government of India, NSC and IM, they have signed this Naga Peace Accord, and according to them, the peace, basically that peaceful transition will be given to the Nagaland. So this is something that has happened till 2015. Is it clear or not? So guys, this is the entire history of the Naga issue. Okay, I have provided you here. Now understand this particular thing, that this particular issue has happened. Okay, good. But this 2015 framework that was signed, there were certain issues that had come in this 2015 framework. What is this 2015 framework? It is simply this 2005-15 agreement that was signed. We also call it as 2015 framework. Now what's the problem? Please listen very carefully. Now there is an issue, okay, and the issue comes like this, that actually, according to this particular framework agreement, there was the issue of sovereignty that was mentioned. It was provided that the sovereignty will be retained and there can be the peaceful coexistence of the two sovereign powers. Okay, now what was the crux? I'll tell you here. Basically, in 2015, government provided that will respect your sovereignty. Okay, it was expected that the Nagas, they will be given a kind of a substantial sovereignty onto the lines of the Jammu and Kashmir. So you might be knowing that in 2015, as per the Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir has their own constitution. Fine. So it was expected by the Nagas that onto the lines of the Jammu and Kashmir, they will be given the sovereignty. But at the same time, government thought that when we talk about the sovereignty can be given. For example, we have the 6th schedule states. Okay, in the 6th schedule we have the tribal areas. Fine. In the 5th schedule also there are the tribal areas. So there are substantial autonomy that have been given in 5th and the 6th schedule. So on that particular line will give some autonomy to the Nagaland. Okay, so that was a difference. Basically, within the framework agreement, there was a different expectations of the different group. Now guys, what happened? 2019 came. Now what happened in 2019? In 2019 there was a big change that came. That was the article number 370 got diluted, and even the Jammu and Kashmir that has been given the separate constitution, substantial autonomy, that particular entire autonomy got scaled down. And in 2019, between the NSC and IM, there was a suspicion that emerged against the government of India. They saw this particular thing and thought that if Jammu and Kashmir's special status has been taken, how their special status will be retained. Moreover, after 2019, the government has also provided this particular thing, that when the matter of sovereignty is concerned, fine, we are ready to give the autonomy onto the lines of the 5th and the 6th schedule, but we will not give you two things that you are asking. Now what are these two things that the Naga parties are asking? So basically, from the long, the Naga part, basically the Nagaland, they have asked that they should be given their own national flag, as well as they should be given their own constitution. Okay, they should be given their own national flag and own constitution. What was the case? What was in the case of Jammu and Kashmir? So this was their perception. Now the government says that the situation has changed after August 5, 2019, and now the center cannot agree to such kind of demands. So this is the dispute that is now going on. So Nagas, okay, NSC and IM, they want a separate flag, they want a separate constitution. Government say that we cannot give that particular thing because the status has now been changed. Within the India, there cannot be two sovereigns. Okay, so two sovereigns as Naga, NSCN has expected, that cannot happen. So this is, guys, all the things that actually happened. Now in this particular development, this particular issue comes few days back, fine, we have discussed this particular article, that now how the things are actually changing. So basically now the government says that now you please, I'll be highlighting here one word, that is the Yezbu. Now what is the Yezbu? Yezbu, okay, it is the Naga constitution. Now government say that okay, we cannot give you the separate constitution, we cannot give you the separate flag, but understand this particular thing, that we can incorporate the Naga constitution into the Indian constitution, and it has been provided that national flag will not be given, a cultural flag for the Nagas can be given. A cultural flag. What is a cultural flag? Cultural flag means that on some ceremonies, on some functions they can use it, but that particular flag will not have any official legitimacy, it will not have any official recognition. So separate constitution, as they are asking, will not be given. Their constitutional ideals will be incorporated within the constitution of India, and and the Indian constitution will be supreme. So Yazbu will be incorporated in Indian constitution. Independent constitution as Jammu and Kashmir had, it will not be given. Fine, cultural flag will be given, official flag will not be given. So this is actually the thing where now the things have been struck. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that in 2023 February there are the elections that will be there into the Nagaland, and before the 2023 all these particular issues have to be resolved. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that because of this particular dispute that has come, now the NSCM will again resume the peace talks with the center. The NSCM will again resume the peace talks with the center. Is it clear or not? Now understand this particular thing guys, that in between there are the interlocutors. Who are the interlocutors? Basically, see, this is the NSCN, this is the NSCN, and let's say this is the government, this is the government. So in between there will be an interlocutor who will be facilitating the talks between the two. So basically earlier there was the interlocutor, that is Mr. R.N. Ravi, and now the interlocutor has been changed, that is Mr. A.K. Mishra. Now the names are actually not important, I'm telling you, because it has been said that when Mr. Ravi was interlocutor, at that point of a time many things were promised. For example, sovereignty will be maintained, okay, and the NSCN expected that they were also given a promise that they will be given a separate flag as well as a separate constitution. But as now the new interlocutor has come, it is being said that this new interlocutor is not keeping their demands that was originally was given. So this is the issue that's going on. So now they'll be starting the peace talks, and we'll see that what will happen in these peace talks. So guys, understand this thing, that if you don't know this entire background, that then will not be able to understand that what are these peace talks, what will happen in these peace talks. So this background is first of all the most important one, and the important points I have provided you here in these particular notes. You can read it. Okay, one more thing. Then guys, just an additional point, some other points I want to give you. Actually, I told you that into the northeast there are many disputes. Naga dispute is one of a dispute. So for other disputes there are many other agreements are also going on. They also I have provided you here into this particular notes. We'll read what other agreements are going on. Okay, so there is a Karbi Anglong agreement that was signed in 2021. Now why this Karbi Anglong agreement was signed? It was signed first of all between the insurgent groups of Assam center and the state government of Assam, because in Assam also there is the insurgency that is going on. So to bring the Assam insurgency in control, the Karbi Anglong agreement of 2021 has been signed. So keep it in mind. Then there is a Brew Accord of 2020. Now what's this Brew Accord? Okay, so this Brew Accord is for to resettle the Brew community. Now guys, when we talk about the Brew community, by the way, they are also called as the Riang community. Now the Brew or the Riang community, they have lived in many states, for example in Tripura, in Mizoram. Fine, just a minute. Fine. Okay. Yes, when we talk about the Brew or the Riang community, they are living into the northeast, into the states of Tripura, Mizoram, Assam. Okay, what has actually happened into the 1997 in the Mizoram, there were the disputes that happened, and the Brew community from the Mizoram, they flew and they've got accommodated in Tripura. Right now, there are more than 6,900 of the Brew families who are living into the different camps in the Tripura. Now, where they will be given the permanent accommodation. Fine, for that particular thing, basically the Brew agreement is being signed. Fine. So therefore, this particular thing is happening. So their reparation back to the Mizoram is being asked. Okay. So this is something that is there. It was asked that, okay, they want to go back to the Mizoram because from Mizoram they came. Okay. But guys, the Mizoram Mizoram was not comfortable in again bringing the Brews back. So basically now what has happened, a new agreement has been signed, and as per this new agreement, the Brew migrants that have been there, these Brew migrants will be settled in the Tripura. Okay, permanently they will be settled into the Tripura. So the settlement of Brew's people into the Tripura, for that particular thing, the Brew Accord of 2020 has been signed. And then there is a third one, that is the Bodo Peace Accord of 2020. Now this Bodo Peace Accord, okay, according to this particular accord, the Bodo groups, the Bodo groups, they have signed an agreement with the government of India, and the Bodoland territorial region in the Assam will be created, and in the Bodoland territorial region, the Bodos will be given substantial autonomy. They will be given many of the powers with respect to taking decision onto their local matters. So the Bodo Peace Accord, Brew Accord, Karbi Anglong agreements, these are some other agreements that are going on in this particular in this particular issue. Okay, so this is all guys about this particular Northeast insurgency. So I believe that the session was highly enriched into the content, so please make sure that you are noting down all these particular points. So that is all about this article, and now let's move to the next article. Now so here are guys the two articles that have basically one article that has been taken from the text and the context section. Now the article that has come is the process of inclusion exclusion from the scheduled tribe list. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2 polity. GS paper number 2 polity will see this particular article, okay, as well as GS paper number 2 social justice also you can see this particular article. First of all, I'll tell you that why this particular article today has come in the newspaper. Okay, so actually what happened few days back, exactly on 15th of September, this article actually came. On 15th of September, this particular actually article came. Now, what this article talked about? So, the cabinet has provided that the 4 tribes will be added to the scheduled tribes list. Now, already on the 15th, we have covered this particular article, but again, I'll tell you that which tribes have been added. So, basically, the Hatti tribe, now just please pay attention here, Hatti tribe in the Transgiri area of the Himachal Pradesh, they have been added to the scheduled tribe list. Then along with that, the Narikorvan and Kurivikaram hill tribe of the Tamil Nadu, they have been added to the scheduled tribes list. So 3 tribes we got. Number 1 is the Hatti tribe, number 2 is the Narikorvan tribe, number 3 is the Kurivikaran tribe. Now these 2 tribes are from Tamil Nadu. And then there is the Binjia tribe in Chhattisgarh. Okay, Binjia tribe in Chhattisgarh. Now this Binjia tribe which is in Chhattisgarh, okay, Binjia tribe, it is in Chhattisgarh. Now it was listed as ST in Jharkhand already. It was listed as ST tribe in Odisha already, but they were not listed as STs into the Chhattisgarh. So Binjia tribe has now been listed as scheduled tribe in which state? It into the state of Chhattisgarh. Already it was an ST tribe in 2 states, that is a Jharkhand and Odisha, but now in the 3rd state, that is the Chhattisgarh, they have been listed as a scheduled tribe. So in total, these 4 scheduled tribes have been listed. Clear? So this is something that actually happened. Fine. This is something that happened, and there was one more decision that was taken. That was the proposal to bring the Gond community residing in Uttar Pradesh under the ST list from the scheduled caste list. Okay. Fine. So they have approved this proposal, and as they have approved this proposal, later they will be doing that particular thing. But as of now, these 4 tribes have been added. Already we have discussed. Now, what is the process of inclusion as well as exclusion of the scheduled tribes people into the scheduled tribe list? Fine. So we'll see this particular entire process here in this article. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that actually when we talk about the scheduled tribe, when we talk about the scheduled tribe list, when we talk about the scheduled caste list, who has the power finally to add the communities into the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribe list? The President of India. So there is article number 341 and article 342. So there is article 341 and article 342 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so if you want, I'll show you that particular article also. Fine. So we can open here the Constitution of India, and in the Constitution of India we'll open here, and you can see just below the article number 341 is mentioned and article number 342 is mentioned. Okay, just a minute. Okay, just a minute, I'll make sure that it's visible. Okay, so in the last, the last 2 articles, 341 and article 342. So article 341, as per this provision, President can notify any community within the scheduled caste list. And the second is article 342. As per this provision, President can notify any community within the scheduled tribal list. So we have 2 articles. Keep these 2 articles in your mind. Fine. Now actually from where this particular process of bringing a community in SC or ST list starts. Okay, so the process starts from the level of the state or the union territory. Okay, so the process starts from the level of the state or the union territory. Now the state or union territory can express their desire that a particular community we want to add in either the SC list or a particular community we want to add into the ST list. Okay, so a particular state government, they can say that okay, X community we want to add into the SC list, Y community we want to add into the ST list. Okay, so this is something that will happen. Now guys, what will happen? First of all, step number 1. Okay, step number 1. Okay, the proposal will be sent to the Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Union Ministry of the Tribal Affair, the state government will tell that we want to add this community to the scheduled tribe list. After that, what will happen? The Ministry of the Tribal Affairs will do its own deliberation. It will carry the study that yes, whether that particular community is a tribal community, whether that community is having the traits of the tribal community or not. All these deliberations thinking will be done by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. It will examine the proposal and then it will send the proposal to the Registrar General of India. Now, Registrar General of India is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Registrar General of India will approve that particular project, and once that particular proposal will be approved by the Registrar General of India, then it will be sent to the National Commission for Scheduled Caste or the National Commission for Scheduled Tribe. If the scheduled caste is to be added, then it will go to the National Commission to Scheduled Caste, otherwise to the National Commission to Scheduled Tribe. That proposal will go. After that, what will happen? That particular proposal will go to the Union government, it will go to the cabinet, and then there will be the interministerial deliberations that will happen at the cabinet. Then different ministers will deliberate that particular thing, and after that cabinet will finally approve that particular provision that yes, this community is to be added. Then guys, what will happen? After that, finally the president will issue a notification. President will issue a notification under Article 341 or Article 342. If it is a scheduled caste, then under Article 341 the notification will be issued by president, and if it is a scheduled tribe, then under Article 342 will be the notification will be issued. Is it clear or not? Okay. So what will happen? The president will give the notification, and then what will happen? Fine, there will be a bill that will be raised, that bill will be passed, and the president will give the assent to a bill, and the scheduled caste order of 1950 or the scheduled tribe order of 1950 will be changed. Now see, you need to just understand this particular process. So how the process goes on? Process goes like this, that number one, the state government will send the proposal to the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Ministry of Tribal Affairs will send the proposal to the Registrar General of India, which is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Registrar General of India will, after the deliberation, will sending the proposal to the National Commission to Scheduled Caste or the National Commission to Scheduled Tribe, as whatever the case will be. Then they will be sending their particular proposal to the cabinet. Okay, and if cabinet approves, then the president will give the assent under Article 341 or 342, and then a tribe will come into the scheduled tribe community. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Now guys, if we talk about presently the status of the scheduled tribe in India, what's the present status of scheduled tribe? So as per the census of 2011, we don't have the census of 2021. It has not been conducted up till now. So as per the census of 2011, we have the 705 ethnic groups listed at the scheduled tribes as under the Article 342. Approximately there are the 10 crore Indians who are notified as scheduled tribes, and out of that 1 crore people live in the urban areas. And when we talk about the population of the STs, they constitute around 8.6% population in the India and 11.3% of the rural population. Now see, you need to know some data. For example, STs, they constitute around 8.6% of population. Even this data, if you will remember, that's good. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that I have told you that when the Ministry of Tribal Affairs will be there, Registrar General of India will consider will do the deliberations. What things are to be considered? So what will be considered? The ethnological traits, their traditional characteristics, their culture, a distinctive culture, geographical isolation, their backwardness, all these particular things will be considered. Okay, ethnological traits means their ethnicity, what race they belong to. Okay, so these particular factors, their geographical isolation, their culture, these things will be considered. Now understand, there is one more development that has happened onto the scheduled tribal people this particular year, that is into the month of March. If you have followed the newspaper analysis, I had covered this particular thing in the March month also. So basically, the Supreme Court this particular year has discussed the credentials of the affinity test. Now understand that what is this particular affinity test. Basically, Supreme Court provided that we want to fix a foolproof parameter to determine if a person belongs to the scheduled tribe or not. Now see, many of the people actually are claiming to be the scheduled tribes. They want the benefit of reservation, but actually they don't fulfill all these particular criteria. For example, they are not isolated, their culture is not distinct, but still they are claiming the ST status, and even the political parties are helping them to get that particular ST status just for the political purposes. So Supreme Court said that we want to have a foolproof parameter how to determine that whether a community will be belonging to the ST community or not. Now they say that okay, there is an affinity test. There is an affinity test. Now according to them, what is this affinity test? Affinity test. Okay, so basically guys, the affinity test means that we see the distinct traits of a particular tribal group. For example, let's say you know that there are many tribes into the northeast, many tribes into the Odisha. They have some distinct practices. For example, practice with respect to their festivals, practice with respect to their dressing, practice with respect to their festivals. So they have distinct traits. Now if they are having distinct traits on that particular parameter, the affinity test will declare them as the tribal. But that affinity test is not complete now. Now what's happening? Many of the tribals are coming in link with the other mainstream communities. We have here the case study of the Meena community of the Rajasthan. Meena community of the Rajasthan. Now the Meena community of Rajasthan, they have been given the status of the scheduled tribe. They have their own unique culture. But what has happened today? The Meenas, they have become too much of mainstreamed. They had got the modern education. They are actually now into the government jobs. Okay, so they have become mainstreamed, and what has happened, their isolation that was there into the past, it's not there. So it has been said that just having the distinct trait might not mean that a particular community is a completely tribal community. So it has been said that basically the judiciary, now you just please focus on the line that I'll be highlighting now in the blue color. So judiciary is no longer sure that an affinity test which is used to sift through distinct trait to link a person to a tribe is a foolproof test now. There is a likelihood that the contact with other cultures, migration and modernization would have erased the traditional characteristics of a tribe. Okay, so their traditional characteristics might have been erased. Okay, so we need to have a new parameter today to determine who is a tribe and who is not a tribe. This is something that has been there. Moreover guys, in your hand, the notes that I have given, I had also put this particular clipping of the newspaper also. Okay, now moving to the next article. The ban on the export of the broken rice. The ban on the export on the broken rice. Now this particular article we have taken from the text and the context page, and this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, issues of food security. GS paper number 3, issues of food security. Okay, as well as with respect to the present state of Indian economy, we'll see this particular article. So two places will be, this article be important. Issues related to the Indian economy and the food security. Food security is directly mentioned in GS3. It's also in the GS2, as well as issues of hunger is there in GS paper number 1. Now, first of all, let's see what has happened. So recently the center government has brought a ban on the export of the broken rice. Okay, so broken rice, fine. You have basmati rice, which are superior one, and then we have broken rice, toote hue chawal, fine, which is not that much superior as per the basmati rice are. Now understand this particular thing. Government has also brought certain export duties to the tune of 20% on some other versions of the rice also. For example, the brown rice, on that the duty has been imposed. Broken rice, they cannot be completely, they cannot be exported. There is a complete ban that has been imposed. However, the one of a very big export of India, that is the basmati rice, there is no ban on the basmati rice. Only on the broken rice there is a ban. Now, what are the reasons that the ban has been brought on the broken rice? So basically I had put the 3 reasons that are there in this particular case, and now let's understand one by one what's the issue. Now number 1 is the issue of pressure. Okay, inflationary pressure. Now if you follow the newspaper analysis regularly, every day we see this particular thing, that there is inflation issue that's coming into the news. Even just 2-3 days back, we have seen that the Reserve Bank of Indian officials have written a letter, open letter, where they had said that government needs to control the inflation. So we have seen that since the month of January, inflation has been above the Reserve Bank of India's comfortable range of 2 to 6%. It has been above the 6%. And when we talk about the inflation, the biggest contributor in the inflation of in India is the food inflation. Food is becoming expensive. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about that when we talk about India, basically the lower supply of a commodity will lead to higher price of that particular product. Now when we are exporting the rice, now what happens when we are exporting the rice to the other countries? What happen? There is the less supply of rice in the country, and because there is a less supply of the rice, what will happen? The price of the rice will go up, and that particular thing will bring the food inflation in India. So in order to fight the food inflation, in order to make sure that there is adequate supply of the rice in India, we have banned the exports. Is it clear or not? So therefore it is an attempt to control the food inflation in India. Is it clear or not? Fine. If there will be some kind of a less supply, it will lead to abrupt price rise. So this is one thing. Then guys, the second thing that has been there is that I want to tell you a little bit of a background first. So basically in 2020, government announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. In 2020, government announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Under this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan 2020, in the lockdown, government provided that additional food security will be provided to the people. Under this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan fiscal package, there was one more scheme that was started by the government. That was the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. Okay, I'll highlight here also. So Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana was launched into the 2020. Now what's this Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana? Additional 5 kg of food grain will be provided. Now guys, you might be knowing that we already have the National Food Security Act of 2013, where the subsidized food grains are being given 3 rupees kg rice, 2 rupees kg wheat and 1 rupees kg coarse grains. Apart from whatever is being given under the National Food Security Act, that will be given, but additional 5 kg food grains will be given under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So therefore guys, what happened? More food was needed. Now in this particular year, March, the government has extended this particular scheme till the September 2022, and the Food Corporation of India says that we need more rice stocks because we need to give under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So therefore we have banned the export so that the FCI has the adequate stocks of the rice. So for this particular thing, the government need additional rice for this scheme, so therefore the ban has been imposed. Then guys, the third reason that comes in this particular direction, and this is actually a very important reason. Again, we have seen this particular article, this independent article few days back. What was the article? Basically, I have told you, now just I will refresh your memory. So basically we have seen that India has started the E20 program. India has started E20 program. What's E20 program? So basically we have said that by the year 2025, we will reach the target of ethanol blending to 20%. We'll go for to 20% of ethanol blending. So E20 means 20% of ethanol blending is to be reached by which year? By 2025. It means that actually in the petrol, we need to, for example, you have 1 liter petrol. For example, in 1 liter petrol, 20%, that is 200 ml of ethanol needs to be minimum blended. Now, why we are going for this ethanol blending program? Understand this particular thing. Guys, I have told you this particular thing many number of times. When we talk about the petrol and diesel in India, 82% of our need of petrol and diesel is being fulfilled by the imports. We are importing the petrol and diesel. We are importing the crude oil, and then we are refining the crude oil and then making the petrol and diesel. Now understand this thing. At the one hand, 82% of our dependence is on import. Secondly, when we are burning the petrol, diesel, it is leading to the carbon emission also. And by 2070, India has agreed to reach the carbon neutrality. We have made this promise in the COP26 that was attended by India in 2021. So number 1, import pressure. Number 2, carbon emission. So therefore we say that okay, let's blend the ethanol into the petrol, because ethanol, if it will be burnt, it will not leave any carbon footprint. And secondly, the ethanol can be manufactured in the country, and therefore 20% of the petrol will when the 20% ethanol will be blended into the petrol, we will be able to cut back on our dependence of crude oil. So therefore the ethanol blending is to be done. So now when we talk about the ethanol is is actually an agro-based product. It's mainly produced from the molasses of the sugarcane. So as a byproduct of the sugar industry, you can attain the ethanol. But at the same time, guys, government has provided this particular thing very clearly that we will not be able to meet the 20% ethanol blending program with the sugar-based feedstocks alone. We need some other things also to make the ethanol in India. And therefore, the broken rice, actually rice is a kind of a source by which the ethanol can be created. So now the broken rice will be used to make ethanol in India, and that particular ethanol will be blended in petrol, and by 2025 will reach the target of 20% ethanol blending. So for the ethanol blending program also, we need to use these particular rices. Now what will be the impact of this particular development? So guys, this development will have a very big impact. What's the impact? Understand this particular thing, that see, first of all, I'll tell you now. This is a very interesting point. You might be knowing that the Russia and Ukraine war is going on. Now when we talk about the Russia and Ukraine, both of these countries have been very big exporters of the wheat. Now in the world there is a wheat shortage that is going on, and as the wheat shortage is going on, it's expected that the rice will become the alternative for wheat. Rice will become the alternative for wheat, and as rice will become alternative for wheat, rice price will also go up. Okay, this is one thing. Now understand, when we talk about India accounts for 40% of the total rice exports in the world. So 41% of rice exports are by the India, and India's exports are bigger than the exports of the four next exporters combined. So the next four big exporters are Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, and the United States. So in combined, when whatever export they are doing, India does more than that. India's rice exports are more than what these four countries are doing. Okay, so 41% of exports are from India. Now if we ban the export of the broken rice, the market of India will be taken by these four countries, that is the Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, United States. And how to recover that particular market back from these countries? How to recover the market back from these countries? So this is a very big issue that will come. Okay, so in this particular capacity, the ethanol blending program will have some negative impacts, that we might lose the market, but these are the reasons, three reasons that why we are going for that. Okay, so I hope that you have understood this particular article. So that's all guys about this, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so the gender pay gap, hard truths and the actions needed. Now this particular article talks about the increasing gender pay gap. This article talks about increasing the gender pay gap, and therefore the article will be important in GS paper number 2, issues related to women. GS paper number 2, issues related to the women, will see this particular article. Okay, now before going in this particular article, guys, let's understand some very basic things first. Let's understand them. Okay, basically when we talk about the gender pay gap means the wage differential. It means the wage differential between the men and the women for the same work. Okay, the wage differential between the men and the women for the same work. For example, a work is being done by the men, and let's say the same work is being done by the women. Women will be paid less. How much less? That is the gender wage gap. Now in the world has been highly patriarchal. Not only India, even the world has been highly patriarchal, and in almost all the countries we see that there is the gender pay gaps. Women are being paid very much less. Now this particular issue highlights the asymmetries that are existing between the men and the women. Now when we talk about India, in India these asymmetries are particularly more heightened because of the deep patriarchy that's there in India. Okay, so this gender pay gap issue is there in entire world, but in India it's significantly high because of the deep patriarchy that exists in India, and it brings asymmetries. Now what has happened to yesterday, that is the 18th of September, we observed the third international equal pay day. The third international equal pay day. Now this equal pay day wants on this particular equal pay day we should reflect the value of equal pay for equal work. Okay, equal pay for equal work it's not only the matter of equality, rather it's also an ethical issue. Okay, we need to consider that particular thing. Now guys, understand this particular thing. It has been provided that the women has been the most impacted because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and according to the United Nations Women, UN Women has coined a word that is a shadow pandemic. UN Women says that when pandemic was going on, everybody was suffering health pandemic, but women were suffering one additional pandemic, that is the shadow pandemic. They have been impacted on economic front, social front, every front. And worst impact of the pandemic is that basically what has happened, their income security got impacted. Okay, fine. There basically there was the gendered division of the family responsibilities into the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, the care work fell onto the women got impacted. According to the International Labour Organization ILO's Global Wage Report 2020-2021, according to this global wage report, it has been provided that there is a huge downward pressure onto the wages, and it is disproportionately affecting the women's wages compared to the men. Basically what's happening now, the employers know this particular thing, that the job insecurity is huge in the people, and people will do the same work in less money. So basically the employers are giving, there is a lot of downward pressure onto the wages are going down. So wages are going down, but when you consider the wages for the women's wages have went too much down compared to the men. This is a big issue that is going on. Okay, now guys, when we talk about India already is performing poor. For example, recently the World Economic Forum global gender gap index was released. Global gender gap index was released for the year 2022. What was India's rank? India's rank was 135 out of 146 countries. So already women are not treated equally, and at the same time the wages differential is increasing because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has come. Now guys, according to the data, now the data who has given, I always tell you that whenever you are giving a data, you need to give the source of that particular data also. So basically guys, according to the data given by the National Sample Survey Office NSSO, fine, there was the 48% wage gap between the men and the women in 1993-94. It means that women were being paid 48% less what men were being paid. So if you are a men and you are being paid 100 rupees, women will be paid 48% less in the year 1993-94. Now this particular gap declined to 28% in 2018 and 19, and this was a progress. But what has happened? Now this particular gap has again increased by 7% in 2018 and 19 and 2020-2021. So today approximately 35% of wage gap exists between the men and the women. Now understand this particular thing guys, that actually the wage gaps are there. Sometimes it can be there because of the education difference, skill difference, experience difference. Many times it is seen that, okay, for example, men, they can have a more education, more skill, more experience, but always it's not the factor. Sometimes the factor is also purely to the discrimination. Sometimes even when there are the same educational qualification, same skill sets, then also there are the differences that's there. Okay, so this is the discrimination. Now guys, understand this particular thing. This, when we talk about the gender discrimination, it occurs at many levels. For example, lower wages are being paid to the women. One, fine. Then guys, undervaluation of women's work in highly feminized occupation and enterprise. So what are these feminized occupations? Okay, so I'll highlight it in blue color. Feminized occupations. So feminized occupations are, for example, the work of a beautician. It's called as a feminized occupation. Work of a receptionist. It's called as a feminized occupation. So these feminized occupations, they have been undervalued. Number one, they are not given economic importance. Secondly, they are not given importance other ways also. So there is undervaluation of these jobs. Traditionally the wages will be less, even they have to work for 10 hours, 12 hours, but wages will be less. These are the undervalued occupations, and these are the feminized occupations. Then there are the motherhood pay gaps. It means the mothers will be paid less than the non-mothers. Okay, so the moment a woman has become a mother, she'll be paid less. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now ILO, International Labour Organization, has put the objective of equal pay for equal work of equal value in its constitution. So as we have Constitution of India, ILO also has its own constitution which entails the basic ideas by which ILO will be carried. So as per the ILO's constitution, they have added equal pay for equal work. Moreover guys, you might have heard that there is the CEDAW convention for the women. Now the CEDAW, it stands for the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. So this CEDAW law convention which India has signed, it also talks about that we need to address all the forms of discrimination and vulnerabilities against the women and girls. And when we talk about these discrimination against the women, the pay gap inequality is a big inequality. Now, what has been done by India? So India has taken many steps. For example, there is a Minimum Wages Act of 1948, and as in this particular Minimum Wages Act, we have provided that some minimum wages need to be paid to both men and women irrespective of their gender. Then there is Equal Remuneration Act of 1976. In this also we have addressed the issue of equal pay for equal work. Then guys, we have recently brought the Code on Wages. So you might be knowing that India has brought the 4 labor codes. Into this 4 labor codes, we have brought the Code on Wages, and in this Code on Wages also the gender wage gap differential we have addressed. Moreover guys, in the Directive Principle of State Policy, part 4 of the Indian Constitution, we have also added the DPSP, that is equal pay for equal work. Now after that, we also brought the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, and in this Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, we had provided that the paid maternity leave will be provided to the women. Okay, so when the women get pregnant, they will be provided the maternity leave. Earlier the maternity leave was of 12 weeks, now it will be provided to 26 weeks. So it will be provided to all the women working in establishments employing 10 or more workers. Now why this particular thing will help? I told you that mothers are discriminated. Okay, so as mothers are being discriminated here, the mothers will be provided the paid leave, so that particular discrimination will be removed. Is it clear or not? Then guys, understand this particular thing. Apart from that, we are running the Skill India mission, and in the Skill India mission, we are equipping the women with the market relevant skills, so that basically sometimes they are not just being paid less because of the lack of skills. So if you remember, we have seen here one particular point, that sometimes the less wages are paid because there are the less education, less skills, less experience. So for that particular thing, basically we are running the Skill India mission, and market relevant skills are being provided. Now understand this particular thing guys, that actually we have done a lot. For example, I told you Maternity Benefit Act has been passed, Minimum Wages Act has been passed, Equal Remuneration Act has been passed, Code on Wages has been asked, but still we need to do lot more. It has been provided that India will take more than 70 years to close the gender gap, pay gap completely. So we are doing, but still it will take 70 years. So we need to take more bold steps. Now in this particular capacity, we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now guys, when we talk about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are the 17 goals. And within the 17 goals, there are 169 targets. Now in these 17 sustainable developmental goals, there is the SDG goal number 8. Now this goal number 8 talks about achieving full and productive employment, decent work for all women, and this goal number 8 also mentions about equal pay for equal work of equal value by 2030. So as per the SDG goals, goal number 8, equal pay for equal work is to be achieved by 2030, and India has already signed this particular SDG agreement. Now apart from this particular SDG goal, in order to support this SDG goal, Equal Pay International Coalition EPIC Equal Pay International Coalition EPIC has been launched in 2017. Now this particular initiative will be led by ILO, UN Women, OECD, and it will promote the equal pay for equal work. So all are these initiatives that are going on. So guys, in the gender issues, this particular topic, it is a gold mine. All the points that has been provided here, it will fulfill all the requirements of the gender issues within the topic of gender wage gap. So excellent article, 5-star article. Please keep this particular article notes, keep these notes handy, save these notes. Now moving to the next article. Geopolitics without geoeconomics is a fool's errand. Geopolitics without geoeconomics is a fool's errand. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about the foreign policy of a country, there are two components. One is geopolitics, okay, and one is geoeconomics. So basically guys, when we talk about the geopolitics means that there will be the region based associations of a country for military purposes, for political purposes. Now I'll give you one example. For example, when we talk about the Quad, that is the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. So Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, it is a grouping Quadrilateral security dialogue is a grouping which is based around the Indo-Pacific region, So basically, in order to maintain the rule-based order, all the countries which are the stakeholders into the Indo-Pacific, they have come together. In the Quad, we have 4 countries, for example, India, US, Japan, and Australia. All these 4 countries have the presence into the Indo-Pacific. So the geopolitical organization, clear. Within the geopolitical organization, on military purpose also, the groupings within a particular territory can come together. For example, when we talk about the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, just last week, Friday, Saturday, we have discussed the SCO. Now, SCO, it is a regional organization based on one particular geography. So in SCO also, the countries are coming together for political interest. Now that political interest could be there could be the sake of ideology, there could be common objectives, there could be military. These are the geopolitical unit. So there is a geopolitical interest, and then second is the geoeconomic interest. Now when we talk about the geoeconomic interest, in the geoeconomic interest, we find that in order to promote the trade, in order to promote the economy, region-based multilateral agreements come, bilateral agreements come. So geoeconomic means countries will come together for economic consideration. Geopolitics means that the countries will come together in a particular region for particular political objectives, for militarization. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the geopolitics without the geoeconomics, it is a fool's errand. Okay, so the countries should not pursue only geopolitics, they also need to be concerned about geoeconomics. Now India is pursuing geopolitics more and is not focusing on geoeconomics. We are not making the economic groupings, we are focusing more on geopolitical groupings. Now let's understand this particular thing. So basically, guys, the articles provides this particular thing that India has managed to emerge as a major pivot to the global Indo-Pacific grand strategic imagination. What we have done, we have become the member of Quad. Now Quad is a geopolitical grouping. Okay, we have become the members of the Quad. It is a geopolitical grouping. Now this is something that has happened, but at the same time, India is not focusing on geoeconomic groupings. What is geoeconomic grouping? For example, guys, recently India has refused to join the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum's geo-economic pillar. Now, when we talk about the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, it is a USA sponsored initiative. Now, there are the 4 pillars. There are the 4 pillars of the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum. What are these 4 pillars? Number one, supply chain pillar. Supply chain pillar means that the countries will diversify their supply chains. The countries will diversify from where they are importing their critical equipments. Fine. Tax and anti-corruption pillar is there. Tax and anti-corruption pillar is there. It means that, see, many times the corporate are doing certain practices by which the countries are losing the tax. Anti-corruption frameworks will be signed. Clean energy framework will be signed. They will be exchanging on the clean energy and all these kind of things. Okay, and then there was one more pillar of IPEF. One was more pillar of the IPF. That is the pillar for the trade arrangement, the pillar for trade arrangement. So 4 pillars. Number 1, supply chain pillar. Number 2, tax and anti-corruption pillar. Number 3, clean energy pillar. And the 4th is the trade arrangement pillar. These 4 pillars are there. India has joined these 3. That is a supply chain pillar, tax and anti-corruption pillar, clean energy pillar. But we have said that we will not be signing the trade arrangement pillar. Okay, will not be going for the free trade agreement under IPF. India will not sign the free trade agreement under the IPF. So trade pillar we have not signed. At the same time, India has also not signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP. Okay, so we have not signed many of the trade pillars. For example, RCEP we did not sign. We did not sign the FTA under the IPEF. We did not sign the FTA under the IPF. So what it means that India is giving the focus on economics. India is giving focus on geopolitics by going in Quad, but has not given the focus in geoeconomics because we have not signed the FTA under IPEF and we have not signed the RCEP. Now, at the same time, guys, you need to understand that India is signing the other foreign trade agreements with other countries. For example, we have concluded the FTA with the UAE, we have concluded the early harvest agreement with the Australia, with the United Kingdom, and we are negotiating the full-fledged FTA with the UK. So we are signing one-to-one bilateral agreements, that is fine. With the UK we are signing, with Australia we are signing, with the UAE we are signing, with the Bangladesh SEPA will be signed this year. But why grouping based geo-economic agreement we are not signing? This is something which is confusing. So it has been said that actually India is staying out of these things, and it is a regressive policy decision. Why? There are certain arguments that have been given. It's a regressive policy decision. Number one, India is the world's fifth largest economy. India is the world's fifth largest economy, and if India will stay out of these trading platforms, it will boost China's geo-economic hegemony. China will become more important. And at the same time, guys, we understand this particular thing, that we want to avoid China. We want to avoid China, but actually our reliance on China has increased. Fine. It is not possible for India to avoid trading with China. Okay, our dependence has increased, and if we will not be signing these FTAs, now why we don't sign these FTAs? We say that the China is also a part of that. We say China is not also a part. China is also a part of that. But we cannot avoid China by not going in these FTAs. At the same time, our reliance is increasing. So we need to think some other strategy in this particular direction. After that, guys, understand this particular thing, that it is hard to integrate itself into the regional and global supply chains without being part of the international multilateral trading agreement. Now India want to become an exporting nation. India says that you import critical inputs from India and not from China. We want to become a major supply chain for the world. But how will become the major supply chain if we'll not be signing these big multilateral agreements? So we need to focus on geoeconomics as well. Then, guys, understand this particular thing, that India is not having option. Basically, India is not having option, but we need to address some deeper challenges which are plaguing the investment and business environment in India. Now, why we don't join these multilateral agreements? We say that we don't have much competence in exports. Why our exports are not competitive? Because we have not focused on investment, we have not focused on infrastructure, these basic things. So basically we need to focus more on business environment in India. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that actually US decoupling from China started in 2020. What was this US decoupling? USA said that the countries should not be dependent on China, they should decouple from China. Now these companies from China went to other countries, but they did not came to India. Why? Because in India, investment regime, infrastructure was not very much good. So we need to focus on some of the deep issues. Then understand, guys, actually India is running the maritime grand strategy. Now we want to become a maritime power, but we cannot just be the maritime power only of military nature. If we want to be the maritime power, we need to be a big exporting hub. We want to have a big thriving shipping capabilities. So for that particular thing, signing the geo-economic agreements makes a lot of sense. Now, then, guys, after that, understand this particular thing. We have said that India is running Act East policy. Okay, now Act East policy is a new avatar of the Look East policy. Now if India will not sign the FTA with the neighbors into the Asia, okay, how this Act East policy will be materialized? It will simply stay Look East. Now India does not have an FTA with the ASEAN, okay, and at the same time India is not trying to become the part of the other trade agreements also. So India needs to be the part of these trade agreements. So therefore India's decision not to join the IPF is something which we need to reconsider again. So India need to rethink its geo-economic choices. India needs to join the IPEF trade, the trade pillar under the IPF. We need to join the CPTPP also, okay, that is the Comprehensive Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. USA has walked out of it. China is seeking to join it, and then there are other multilateral groupings also. We need to join them. So this is something that has been talked in this particular article. So that's all, guys, about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so the next article here we have is the disruptive nexus of China and Pakistan. China and Pakistan. Now, guys, this particular article says that always the China has used the Pakistan as a proxy against the India. So now this article will see with respect to the GS2 IR, okay, neighborhood issues. Now what the article is saying is that China always uses Pakistan as a proxy. Now the article says China uses Pakistan as a proxy military and nuclear power against the India. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that recently what developments have happened. So recently, now you know, China is a permanent member under the United Nations Security Council, and China being a permanent member can use its veto. Now, what has happened? China has recently used its veto. There was in the UNSC a proposal was kept for voting, and this particular proposal was to designate the Al Qaeda and ISI. Basically, recently what happened? The United Nations United Nations Security Council's Al Qaeda and ISIL Sanction Committee was constituted. Now, what this committee does? This committee puts sanctions. This committee puts some bans on some of the terrorists, designates the international terrorists. So this committee was constituted, and it wanted to list Lashkar-e-Taiba's Sajid Mir as one of the India's most wanted terrorist. Fine, he has been wanted for the 2008 Mumbai attacks. So Sajid Mir was to be designated as international terrorist into the UNSC. China did not allow that particular thing. Earlier also the Jaish-e-Mohammed and LET Lashkar-e-Taiba as a terrorist were to be designated as international terrorists. There also China blocked that particular thing. So what China is doing? China is blocking the India's attempt to designate certain of the terrorists as international terrorists. Now, why China is doing this particular thing? Now see, you don't need to remember the name, for example Sajid Mir, or which organization he has worked for. You don't need to remember that, but you simply need to see that China blocks India's attempt to designate certain terrorists as international terrorists. Which organization they belong, not important. Why China is doing that thing? Because these terrorists are based in Pakistan. Okay, and Pakistan is the all-weather friend of China. So in order to support the Pakistan, China is doing this particular thing. Pakistan is already into the grey list as per the Financial Action Task Force. Pakistan has already went for the terror funding. Okay, but China is helping. Now guys, China is helping at multiple fronts. For example, into the past, Sino-Pakistan Nexus, China-Pakistan Nexus has helped. Both of the countries had provided the nuclear and missile technologies to the North Korea. They have provided the weapons of mass destruction to the North Korea. According to a CIA report, it has been provided that China had supplied the short-range missiles to the Pakistan in violation of the MTCR. Missile Technology Control Regime provides that such export cannot be there, but China has provided it. After that, guys, when we talk about the military ties, China-Pakistan military ties are going on since 1960. China has provided the low-cost tools to Pakistan. They are providing them the fighter jets, they are providing them the ships, submarines. 47% of China's military exports, they go to Pakistan. All types of arms China is providing to Pakistan. Why? Because guys, if China will provide the arms to the Pakistan will use those arms against India. So China is using Pakistan as a security guard. Okay, China is using Pakistan to have their own security. Okay, and in that Pakistan is using those tools against the India. So this is a very deadly kind of a nexus that China-Pakistan has made against India. This is something that is going on. Now understand that also on another fronts, the China is supporting Pakistan. For example, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Now guys, when we talk about the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, so China-Pakistan Economic Corridor passes from the Pakistan, it passes from the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is a territory which has been illegally occupied by Pakistan. Without the consultation from India, without any consultation with the India, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is being built into the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This is something. Then the Karakoram Highway is passing through the Khunjrab Pass. Okay, so here you can see okay, so here you can see there is the Khunjrab Pass. So from the Khunjrab Pass, this Karakoram Highway is passing. So this is one other development project which China is taking. Now guys, why the China-Pakistan nexus has become more stronger into the past few years? So what happened? You know that Article 370 got diluted in 2019. As we have changed the status of Jammu and Kashmir, this is obviously an internal matter of India. China and Pakistan don't have any authority. They don't have any business in this particular matter. But China-Pakistan has said that this is something which India should not have done. Okay, according to the China and Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir is a disputed territory. According to China and Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir is a disputed territory. Okay, so therefore they said that why such status change happened. So therefore again their collaboration has increased. Is it clear or not? So apart from synchronizing the positions at the UN, China and Pakistan has created new organizations also where they are increasing their cooperations. For example, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Fine. Pakistan is China's main bridge to the Islamic world. So China wants to reach to the Islamic world, and there also the China is using Pakistan. So this is something which Nexus has been created. So that's all guys about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now basically guys, this particular article will that has been there, it is from the archives section. Now it means that this particular article was published earlier. Okay, so we don't need to go too much into the detail. It is an old article, but there are some good points that have been brought in this particular article. So those good points we'll see. Now understand this particular thing guys. This particular article, it has some of a political flavor also. Political flavor means this article is saying these things that the government after 2014 is trying to destabilize the democracy, and all those impressions are there. Now these kind of things you don't need for your UPSC examinations. Okay, so that political criticism is not important. Academic issues are important. Now we'll see those academic points only. So therefore guys, you need to be very careful while reading these articles. Now what this particular article is all about. Now this article guys is talking about this article is giving the reference from the ACE Temelkuran. Now who is ACE Temelkuran? ACE Temelkuran, it is a Turkish journalist and writer, and in the book that she has written, How to Lose a Country, she has described that the president of Turkey, that is the Recep Tayyip Erdogan, since 2014, the Turkish president has destabilized the country. He had delegitimized the country as per the ACE Temelkuran's book, How to Lose a Country. And she has explained that there are the 7 steps, by which the democracy is destroyed in a country. What are these 7 steps? She had explained these 7 steps. We'll see these 7 steps. Now she says that the story begins from the creation of a movement. Now, how the story of destabilizing a democracy begins? The story begins by the creation of a movement that claims to be of real people. So it's said that in a country, some people are real and authentic people, and some people are outsiders. So a narrative of us versus them is created, and it is said that basically there have been the conspiracies into the past against the native peoples of a country. So this kind of a narrative is created. Then the second step that comes here is that there is an assault on rationality and on language. New meanings onto the old things are replaced. Aggressive slogans are made. Rationality, logic, it is sidelined. Aggressive new meanings are given to the old words. That is something that happens. Then the third step that happens is that shedding of all shame and decency on the part of leaders. Leaders will lose all the shame and decency. Leaders will teach their followers that into the name of indigeneity, they need to teach a lesson to some people. So leaders will lose all the shame, leaders will lose all of their decency, and they will ask their followers to do some of the things which are anti-democratic. That is something that happened. After that, there will be the dismantling of the institutions. So the institution that acts as the checks and balances on executive power, the institution that acts as a control on the judiciary, as a control onto the executive, that institution of judiciary, institution of media. Now institution of judiciary and media are the checks and balances. These institutions' legitimacy will be declined. Then the fifth step is to designing of new citizens. Okay, now a new citizen, what will happen over this particular time? A new citizens will be created which are pre-calibrated of the new normalcy. So killing of dissent, killing of freedom of speech and expression, it will become new normal, and these citizens will support this new normal. Then the sixth step is the reduction of all liberal and secular thinking. Okay, so what will happen? Secular liberal thoughts, they will be degraded. It will be seen that it is just unneeded. Then the seventh step is that the new rulers will build their own country and will crush all the resistance which will be there. Now again, when we talk about India, it has been provided that apart from this particular things, there are other uniquely Indian features also that are existing. First is by neoliberalism. First, what has happened? We have flagged off our journey towards an authoritarian communalism. One is neoliberalism. What is neoliberalism? Neoliberalism is a set of values which talks about free market. Now what happens in India today? The neoliberalism has become more important. Free market, okay, capitalism is being given more important. Second feature is that unique role of media. Today when we talk about the media, guys, in India, the media is not very fair. It's not completely unbiased. So media is also being used. And the final feature is the composition and positioning of the opinion making classes. Okay. Final feature concerns the First is the neoliberalism idea is coming. The second feature is the unique role of media, and the final feature concerns the cost composition and positioning of the opinion making classes. So basically what's happening now, the opinion making classes, the narratives are being built, narratives are being imposed on the people. For example, sometimes the anti-nationalism narrative is imposed, anti-nationalism narrative is imposed. So multiple narratives are being built and the opinions are being imposed on the people. So three extra things are there. Number one, neoliberalism values are becoming important. Secondly, the role of media has become very biased, and the opinion building class is imposing views on the people. So these are certain things that are happening, and these things might have some negative impact on the democratic credential. So we need to be mindful of these 7 patterns. That's all about this, and now we'll move to the next article. What numbers don't tell. Now this article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issue of mental health. Now guys, the article talks about that recently the National Crime Record Bureau's prison statistics report has been released. Now, as per this NCRB's prison statistic report, they say that right now more than 9,000 prisoners are having mental illness into the prisons. Now 9,000 people are having the mental illness, and guys, this number might be the number of only those people who are either into the mental wards in the hospital or in the prisons, or the people who are taking some drug or some they are taking some psychological drugs or some psychological aids. Only these number can be 9,000. Actual number of people who are suffering from mental illness, they might be much higher. Now it has been said that, guys, when we talk about our Indian jails, they are overcrowded. Under trials, they are 70%. Under trials are those people whose crime has not been proved, but still they are in jail. So 70% of the inmates into the jail, they are under trials. Now basically it has been provided that actually when we talk about the mental illness patients, the 9,000 patients who are having this mental illness, or the people who are having mental problems, now out of 90% people, 9,000 people that we have here, 58% are under trials. 58% are under trials. So it means around 60% people are in the jail who are having mental illness, and even their crime has not been proved. This is a very bad thing that's there. According to the Project 39A's report, now the name of the report is Death Worthy. According to this particular report, 60% of the death row prisoners, they had witnessed the mental illness episodes. So 60% of the death row convicts, they are facing some mental illness. According to the report, it has also been provided that many of these prisoners who are suffering the mental illness, they have not been identified by the prison as they need some care. So 60% death convicts, they are facing some mental illness, but it is not believed that they need some mental care. The prisons are not supporting them. According to Death Worthy report, is also provided that suicide had little to do with mental illness and a lot to do with the absence of the social support. Now the people who are committing the suicides into the jail, now it has been provided that actually if we see the numbers, there have been 150 deaths by the suicide in the prisons. Now these people who committed the suicide, it's not because they had some mental problem, but many of them are committing suicide because they don't have the social support. There is violence, there is a distress that's there. Now we have talked a lot into the past. For example, National Mental Health Policy came in 2014, and as per the National Mental Health Policy 2014, it provided that prisoners are needed to be considered a class of people who are vulnerable to the mental ill health. So they are more vulnerable to mental ill health. So therefore, we need to reach towards these people. We need to help these people. However, as of now, the system is not equipped to even give a crucial information as are all the people who are having the mental illness in the prisons, are they one who are already having the mental illness even when they were not in the prison, or they got the mental illness when they came in the prison? We don't even know. What I want to say, we don't even know that whether they have a mental illness earlier also when they were not in the jail, okay, or not. We don't know. So we don't have even the information. So therefore, it's being provided that when we talk about the mental health crisis, we need not to have only the purely medical approach. Purely medical approach means let's give them medicine. That is not the only approach. Apart from that, we need to have an all-encompassing approach. We need to move the treatment beyond the individuals. We need to identify social factors, the social factors which impacts the mental health. So social factors are needed to be identified. This is something that's needed to be done. So here it has been provided that basically our thinking is such that actually it's our thinking is that overcrowding, violence, okay, they are inherent into the jail. They will always be there. But no, they cannot be inherent. They cannot be the default conditions. Understand this particular thing. Basically, the jails, they are meant for reform, rehabilitation, reintegration. But how the rehabilitation and reintegration of the people will be there if there will be such violent conditions, if there are such mentally torturing conditions into the jail? So we need to make sure that the mental health of the prisoners are to be taken care of. So basically, we need to make sure that our penal system, our social justice system, our judicial system, our criminal justice system needs to be changed in such a way that mental health concerns are needed to be taken care of. We need to identify all such social patterns. So this is all, guys, about this particular article, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So guys, I hope that you have understood this particular article. So guys, if you have understood, I hope you have understood the articles, and if you have liked the video, if you think that this video is helping you in any way in your preparation, please do hit the like button. Please do comment on our video, because when you comment, when you hit the like button, basically our videos, fine, we get a motivation out of that particular thing. We basically get a motivation to work even more harder. Fine. Thank you so much. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, guys, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much. Take care.